So first and foremost, we're taking a glance at your education. I'm really just trying to get a baseline expectation of what type of role you might be interested in. We're next looking at personal projects or work experience. If you don't have a lot of work experience, don't worry. There's lots of other ways you can shine in terms of your application process to make up for that lack of real work experience or internships. Leadership and community involvement. No matter the role, no matter the team, no matter the company, something that is always going to be an expectation is that you're working well with others. And I think a great way to show that you've been able to collaborate is by highlighting some of the work you may have done either in a club or a group on campus or any community type events that you're involved with. And then we're looking at applicable skills. So as we're looking through the resume content in particular, just know that I'm a firm believer in adjusting your resume and your interests to match the role that you're applying for. And so some of my suggestions will be on that as well. So first and foremost, make sure you list your major, your graduation date, and GPA. You'll always want to make sure that you have your graduation date. Make sure you're providing your email, your phone number, your LinkedIn profile link, and the city you're in. And then you're going to describe your work experience or projects. These projects could be personal projects, academic projects. You're going to describe those using 2 to 3 bullets each. And then you're going to keep all the information on your resume relevant. So make sure that you're just highlighting what experience that looks like, even if it's not something that you outwardly see relevant to the job at hand. And then again, tailor your resume to the company or the role that you're applying to. This is super important, especially if you were like me and you're trying to apply to a lot of different types of roles. Always have other people review it, read through it, make sure it makes sense, especially people that may not be super familiar with your experience. You want to make sure that it's very obvious of what it is that you accomplished and why it mattered. Most interviews that are conducted are behavioral-based interviews. Behavioral-based questions traditionally start off with something that's a little more how did you approach XYZ situation? And then you're going to respond to it. When you respond, that's where you're going to want to think about responding using the STAR method, which is situation, task, action, and result. So the situation is setting the scenes, like describing where the project you're working on. The task is saying, this was a situation we were asked to create a project plan to launch a new healthcare system in the US. The action would be, this is how we're actually going to implement that, and these are the steps and the milestones we took in order to succeed. And then the result is, hey, this is how we're really supporting people. This is the impact we're able to make. These are the survey results. This is their feedback that made us think that this was successful. And using kind of that method for any of your examples will help ensure that you're describing the situation and how it relates to the question at hand and what your role was within that particular project, and then ultimately why it mattered. So you start off with the 30-minute phone screen, and then you would move on site to a final round of interviews. This is typically 3 to 4 interviews. Then the team will come together and make a hiring decision. So don't ever, look down on yourself or your experience if you're not selected for something. It could be that they have another employee internally that's really just knocked it out of the park, is easier to onboard, and they're looking to bring over. And then usually results are delivered within 1 to 2 weeks after the first phone interview or after a final round interview. But always talk to recruiters, talk to hiring managers about what that timeline looks like, and what their process is for that specific role or company. So acknowledge your nervousness. If you're walking into an interview and your voice is shaking or you're just really nervous, it's totally fine to say that to your interviewer, or to start it off by just saying, hey, super excited to be here. I'm nervous about this opportunity, but I'm so grateful to be here, and just wanted you to know that. Be prepared to think on your feet and always ask clarifying questions. If you don't understand what they're asking you about, or they're asking you some type of scenario-based question, always ask clarifying questions. And think out loud, show your thought process. especially on a phone interview, it's kind of hard to have that personal connection with an interviewer, whether it's just on the phone or it's through video chat. So make sure that you're thinking out loud, especially to avoid some of those more awkward pauses at times when you're just trying to think through the solution. And use what you've learned throughout the day and apply it. Meaning, if in your first interview, you learn something about the interviewer and you ask them a question like, hey, what's most important to you and team members? Utilize that in your next interview and say, hey, like as I'm approaching this, I learned from, Beth, who I talked to earlier in the day, that something that's really important to you is your ability to be there for the customer. This is how I've done that in the past. And it really shows that you're listening and applying things real time as you go throughout the interview day. And then have post-interview questions prepared. My other tip here is to ask questions in a way that also helps you sell yourself. The other way you could do it is saying something like, hey, I think one of my top strengths is that I can think creatively and I can collaborate really well with others. What are some of those strengths that you see in some of your top performing employees? Brag about yourself a little bit and ask the question. Is a great way to kind of spin it in your favor, to be able to also just share more information about yourself.